Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to OPC Season 2. We're about to head into Match 2 of the evening as we round out the first round robin. Hong Kong Attitude taking on Machi Esports.
It's a pretty exciting one. These two teams are right next to one another in the standings, and if I'm not mistaken, a loss here for Hong Kong Attitude results in a tie between these two teams, but a loss for Machi. First of all, that would have Hong Kong Attitude securing a spot in the top 4 and would see Machi themselves tying with Mega Thunder for 7th place. So there's a lot riding on this matchup for both of these teams, both in terms of the potential success and the price of failure.
I think for a team like Machi as well, they have a similar storyline to Mega Thunder in terms of results and standings. They're a team that has tried really hard to get these match wins in there, but they have fallen short in various cases now. A few words from both sides before we head into the match. Best of luck, he says. But I still think we'll win.
我们会赢，听起来蛮有自信的。好，来，马姐教练。
虽然最近 HK 气势如虹嘛，但我们也做足了充足的准备，所以
So HK have looked great lately, but we're preparing hard for this.
哪队会赢呢？马上把画面交给我们的
It's
主播家庭
JFPS Live from Hong Kong Attitude, the coach in Kansas, the coach from Machi as well. So I'm excited for this because these teams are very close together in terms of their history in the OPC, certainly season 1 and also this season, and in terms of the rise and fall of the results and also the standings and just the performance of both of these guys.
And Machi are completely right. Hong Kong Attitude have been looking great. This first half of Season 2 alone, they have beaten both AHQ and Blank, who are also sitting in that top 4. Having previously beaten them in the final round robin of Season 1 and having also beaten AHQ in extra time before that. So actually right now, their match record against AHQ sits at 3-2 in their favor. That is for total professional matches played. Machi, on the other hand, do not boast similar results against those topmost teams. So as much as these teams have a rivalry and have often stayed quite close together in the standings, over time it certainly has been Hong Kong Attitude feeling like the stronger of the two.
And certainly reflected in the standings, as you've sort of said, they have had that meteoric rise. They've looked good and then also won the matches, so it shows on paper. Machi, they look good, but they haven't had the same results. They haven't had the W's on the leaderboard, and that's what's made the difference between those two teams. That being said, though, I'm expecting a close matchup just by the performance I've observed from both these sides.
And I feel like these are two very similar teams as well in terms of how they play and the caliber of players. Like, right down to who is able to play what. Like, when they're swapping out someone for a Doomfist, who is doing it? Why? Who's picking up the 3rd DPS when they do triple DPS? They're both very similar in all of those regards, which I think is what makes so many of their matches really exciting. I think one of the big shakeups, though, in that duality is actually this guy right here, Randy. He has really opened up a Reinhardt-Zarya kind of comp for them. One they were able to run before, but a Ting struggled a bit on the Reinhardt. That's no longer the case, and Randy Zarya is absolutely phenomenal. Yesterday, they picked up the win against AHQ, but if they don't actually pick up the win here, then they will not have all those wins and work they've done get reflected in a top 4 finish.
And it wouldn't be totally unsurprising either because Machi have been hungry for that win and they've been working towards that win. They've just been a little bit shy every single time. Almost like Liberty Supreme where they get very close to winning but then they don't take that win. Machi have actually got wins on the board, have had resounding wins on the board. One of them was against Mega Thunder in a 3-0 and now it looks like Machi Esports want to come and potentially do the same to Hong Kong Attitude if at all possible.
Machi Esports on your screens now. Still no substitutions out of them. They do have player Rice still sitting on the bench. We have seen a bit of him across Season 1, but have yet to make him, see him make an appearance in Season 2. And instead, they have been running the likes of Nuns. This fella here, an absolute superstar of this team.
And both teams are going to be putting up their best roster, so no surprises there whatsoever. And I actually want to feature Kant as one of the key players for Machi. And it's going to be interesting. His 1v1 versus Shailin could potentially make or break what happens in terms of results for this actual game itself.
Yeah, there's, like I said, a lot of similarities between these two teams in particular. The one I actually personally want to really keep an eye out for will be those two Winstons, because we're starting to see a very common thing now among the teams that are having the most success in the Winstons opening up the game for their DPSs. That's always been the case in good professional Overwatch. but it was less teams total that were able to do that effectively in Season 1. And Ating does actually have to be counted among that, even as their sort of main tank player across Season 1. He still struggled a little bit on adjusting here and there, but has just looked better and better and better every single time he's played, and now really allows the likes of Shylin to absolutely pop off.
And I think for both sides as well, D-Crown's been phenomenal this season. Everyone on both sides has had some very, very good results. Kent has probably the highest rate of sticks on the pulse bomb of any tracer,
certainly
including
feels
the best
that way.
ones. And Shylin has just had an immense impact, whether he's on the Doomfist, whether he's on the tracer. Everything's been going great for both the sides. And the other player we haven't really mentioned yet is actually Mui, who's been a real X factor for the Hong Kong Attitude side.
Yeah, just before we get into that though, of course, for this first time these two teams will meet in Season 2, Hong Kong Attitude have the home side. That will give them the first pick on control, which is going to be Nepal for themselves, which they also ended up playing, if I'm not mistaken, against AHQ. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not too sure about that, but...
Racking my brain. I have a feeling it was, if not, we saw it earlier in the night. But at any rate, picking up that control for themselves, they'll also get the Assault and second hybrid picks if we go that far. Machi will get the 2 and 4 picks being hybrid and escort both. And you touched on something quite fair there as well, Mui being the new entrant to Hong Kong Attitude, the main change up between Season 1 and 2, and has helped push them that extra bit further to continually stay ahead of teams like AHQ and Blank.
And by the way, they are staying ahead of those teams, but it has been a struggle as well. Hong Kong Attitude only got their win against AHQ in a 3-2 victory. So they have also been this team that kind of falls short as well, because just like Machi Esports, they had a 2-3 run against the Flash Wolves. So both of these teams still just below that level, but also very competitive. And that's kind of why I'm expecting big things on both sides, because both of these teams are able to push teams like Flash Wolves that much further.
This is going to be exciting no matter how you slice it. I mean, there's almost only so much we can say. The match just kind of has to speak for itself. But Nepal is indeed going to be the first map these two teams meet on. And like I said, I want to draw a bit of attention back to that tank matchup specifically, because this map control is probably one of the places it is going to be most impactful, because we are almost certainly going to get the Winston mirror.
Absolutely, and that's kind of just to be expected anyway. Neither of these teams have really gone too far into the side of the Reinhardt Zai. If there's one team that will be, it's most likely Hong Kong Attitude, because we've already spoken on this, but Randy onto the Zai has been a factor. But those are on maps like Kings or on Nepal. We're going to see Doomfist. We're going to see guys like Kant back on the Tracer as expected. But Mui on the McCree, he's been one of the key factors in terms of where the success on the Hong Kong Attitude side is, and specifically on McCree.
And this is one of the few differences between the two teams. Kant, the Tracer player, is not, generally speaking, the Doomfist player. It is instead Nuns, and that is how these two teams are going to have their rollout happen. Let's see how the opening skirmish goes as Nuns deep onto the back line, straight onto CQB, but doesn't quite close it out as they turn it back around and pick Kiyomi in that very even trades now, as it's D-Crown staying in the fight, trying to get the opening kills, and Kant kind of ducking in and out of it. Shylin struggling to have the same effect, but he does at least pick D-Crown. Going to lose his life, and that should be Machi able to get set up on the point.
And Canada's getting so many good picks. He's got a team now. He got Randy. He was the one that opened up onto Mui as well, despite the fact that Nuns went down quite early with his engagement.
Ooh, that's a headshot.
Kant was the one that really pulled the weight, and that's why Machi won the first fight.
Kiyomi getting his own headshot though onto Mui actually evens up that score very, very quickly. Now Shylin has to get a lot of work done, and he has to do it on the opposite side of Nuns, who is unfortunately not getting much work done just yet. Shylin really starting to make it happen for his team, but they need to turn this into pressure and positioning around the point itself. Now looking to convert on that front, but need to get the picks to make it happen.
Absolutely, because they don't have cap control just yet. That's something they Machi absolutely do. Can't really use the pulse bomb. Nothing came out of that. And here comes a sound barrier from Restia.
Yeah, Mango Trade taking out his counterpart is actually quite big. Meteor Strike out of Shylin is going to get Nuns separated off from the team. Actually gets the kill as well, as much as it was just to save Shylin's own bacon there. And now with the extra kills getting picked up as D-Crown a bit too deep and Kant's in full retreat, Hong Kong Attitude will convert that pressure into a cap.
And this time around, Kant isn't available to have the carry, to have the rest of Machi win the rest of that fight. 48% going on to 50%. This is a very good lead so far for Machi Esports. For Hong Kong Attitude, they get that with very few ultimates suspended. Only Shylin using the Meteor Strike, and he killed Nuns with that, who hasn't really found what he's looking for so far in this matchup.
A lot of blue lights up here for Hong Kong Attitude, but Machi are on the cusp of their own ultimates. I feel like the real swing is going to be the fact that CQB is a sound barrier and Restia will not.
Certainly, but the DPS ultimate's online for Machi as well. That allows Nuns to get a little bit more aggressive, and Meteor Strike already coming out.
That is a big in from Nuns, but he gets rebuffed now as Mui is going to be just fine. That is both of the defensive ultimates out for Hong Kong Attitude. Kiyomi matching with his own Transcendence, but no one dead just yet. D-Crown deep in with the Primal Rage, but a Ting very low. No Primal Rage of his own. Mango Jai, the first casualty as they finally close out on a Ting who had been low for most of that fight. Deadeye could turn it back around, but no, Nuns able to duck out of that, and it's only Restia the casualty. Machi get the cap back in their favor, and now it's just going to be cleanup duty.
And they get the cap back without allowing Hong Kong Attitude to get the lead either. So Machi, they continue this progressively. They take it back. They force all the ultimates out of Hong Kong Attitude. Even the Jedi from Mui, maybe not so required. Shailin had to Meteor Strike just to get himself out alive. So Machi, they completely stabilized. They reset the economy on both sides, and they're looking good.
Looking to get the next in here. Nun's a little bit low, and they want to try and use that to go, but honestly, No Talk's doing a good job of keeping these members at bay while Machi reset themselves. Now Machi want to go themselves, but a great flashbang fan to drop D-Crown, and now Mui, pressured out as he is going to be just fine as Nun's a bit too deep, and the rest of the team has it on lockdown. Now Hong Kong Attitude free to march back onto the point itself, and should hopefully be able to equalize as Machi push it past 90%.
Yeah, that was a strong fight for Hong Kong Attitude as well, specifically because they were behind in ultimates. Machi, they had the sound break, but didn't find a chance to use it. Nuns and Kant going down a little bit too early. Nuns is feeling the pressure a little bit too much, so onto the Genji he goes. And that's kind of interesting because he has still found some rocket punch kills. 94% now for Machi, still in the winning seat.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Nuns had a lot of impact in that opening skirmish, so it's interesting that he's opting into this Genji. Now this should be Hong Kong Attitude's ability to kind of even up the score, but a good fight for Machi would turn it back in their favor and possibly win it. Losing Nuns, though, means they may just have to bide their time, and Hong Kong Attitude buy some time.
And signaling the full retreat, Hong Kong Attitude now looking for some door control, looking for that spawn control as well. A lot of ultimates online, especially the important ones, as we've got the support ultimates on both sides now actually available.
Gonna really come down to this one fight just based off where the percentages are at, and a quick pick on Kant. That's a great start. Double Transcendence, but again, that sound barrier there for CQB. Restia holding on to his for now, but Hong Kong Attitude have not converted any more kills just yet with their defense's ultimates. Now Shailin in with the Meteor Strike right on top of Kiyomi, and the sound barrier is run out now for Restia. Hong Kong Attitude trying to convert more, and Mui is keeping the pressure on, but he goes down in the dive there. It's all Shailin now, and D-Crown is back in the mix, putting a ton of work in. Nice catch on Kant with the self-destruct, and this is still anyone's fight. Shailin, though, is going to be the one closing out on D-Crown, and that should be all it takes to secure it, as No Talk does throw out the self-destruct to buy time for the team, but cannot remech as he dies, and that is 1-0 up for Hong Kong Attitude.
It was so close as well, 100 to 94. What really made the difference there at the end was that Shailin never died. He stayed alive, he was always impactful, he collected the kills. Nuns just didn't have the impact on the Genji that he was looking for. That change didn't give him what he wanted.
Yeah, and I find that interesting because, like we said, he actually was having a lot of impact before that on the Doomfist. So, on the whole, it felt like Shailin and Mui were just a bit more consistently pulling off the damage in those fights. But D-Crown was kind of the swing factor for Machi, and it is certainly not over yet. Only 1-0 up is the lead for Hong Kong Attitude. Now, on to Shrine.
Certainly was actually Kant as well. Kant was the one that really pulled the weight, especially in the opening skirmish. D-Crown got himself killed quite early. It was Kant that got the triple kill that really put Machi ahead. Machi needed to get that head to continue the lead to actually complete the map, and it wasn't until right at the end that Hong Kong Attitude flipped around and took the lead off them.
Well, if you're Hong Kong Attitude, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Back out the gate with the Doomfist. McCree and Machi sticking to the Genji now, not back onto the Doomfist themselves. So, see how the opening skirmish goes. There's great pressure onto Mui, already converting onto Mango Jai as well, and really not much in response out of Hong Kong Attitude. Not even quite getting the D-Mech, only just getting it now as they lose a Ting. That is going to be the cap once again going to Machi off the back of the opening skirmish.
And twice in a row now, they've been able to find the opening pick out onto Mui. That's been very important. Whatever is happening there, Mui hasn't been able to be defended. He's not defending himself. His team maybe not defending him either. Machi Esports, they take the lead once again. But this time around, how far do they extend this?
Last time they were able to get quite a lot of distance out of it, so yeah.
52% on the
Exactly, yeah, absolutely good question there. Kant close to the pulse bomb as well could be the big swing factor again in this fight, but already Mui picks. They do trade for D-Crown this time around, but Shailin pressured out by Nuns. This is a really tense one, could go either way, and it's actually Shailin who comes out the top of that, and while that was happening, the rest of Hong Kong Attitude in the form of a Ting and Randy were pressuring the point, so it doesn't look like Machi are quite going to push this to a full 50, even as they D-mech Randy. Kant tried to go off in the middle of all that, but did end up losing his life for it. Hong Kong Attitude should be able to secure this point soon.
Well, D-Crown and No Talk are still holding this one down while Nuns and Kant are respawning. That's extremely important. Kant's Pulse Bomb really bought them so much time. This might be the turning point, though, as Shailin picking up the mech and picking up the D.Va as well.
And Machi have committed just now as well with the sound barrier, so Shailin's going to go deep, slam dunks Kiyomi, and now looking to close out on the rest of the members as well. D-Crown in full retreat, does just barely slip out with his life, and yeah, those D.Vas trading mechs right at the end there, Randy getting back into his, while No Talk lost his one, was really what swung that.
Actually, at the end of the day, Machi collecting 46%. There's still nothing to laugh at Hong Kong Attitude, so if a little bit of room to catch up to before they can actually overtake this. 1 fight buffer is exactly what we're talking about, and for Machi Esports, they have to win it here to get that, to extend their lead further.
They've got the ultimates for it, and this will be the first Dragon Blade we see out of Nuns. Let's see what he's able to get done with it, because they have opted onto the Genji over the Doomfist. Transcendence out from both sides. Machi getting onto the Void, and Hong Kong Attitude trying to stay alive for now as a Ting goes in with the Primal Rage. Looking a little bit lean on resources now as Nuns still looking for that opportunity. Kiyomi going down, first casualty of the fight, but a great pickup on Shailin is going to be big for them, and the Deadeye already used up. Nuns forced off to the side. Self-destruct just creates a little bit of space in this fight for now. Now Machi want to get on the aggressive as they take out Mui. They do trade No Talk Smack for it, but Nuns with the Dragon Blade able to start closing out the fight for them, and Machi are going to be able to get the regrab off the back of the fight.
This is going to be a big win for them as well, because it looks like a full team wipe. Hong Kong Attitude, CQB just trying to hold on to whatever percentage they can get, but it should be Machi taking over the lead very shortly. Hong Kong Attitude don't have a lot to come back into this, and we are getting to the stage of the game where you don't have the ultimates, but we are getting close to the 99.
Mui also opting off the McCree now, has struggled a little bit with that immobility. They are getting a lot of pressure onto him, so on that Tracer, maybe able to stick in these fights a bit longer. Shailin already getting into the fight, wants to Meteor Strike in deep, trying to get these supports, but it's Mango Jai the first to go down. The sound barrier buying Machi the extra time. Hong Kong Attitude now starting to convert though. D-Crown in trouble, but Kant is still pulling the weight, and unfortunately not closing out on D-Crown as the pause is going to come out.
And the interesting thing is, while we were on Shailin's perspective, the fact that he wasn't able to find the kill onto either supports on the Machi side, that was actually critical. Doesn't get the kill onto, most importantly, Restia, because Restia was a Lucio player who was so low, just manages to dodge around Shailin. And actually what happened towards the end there was Kant was applying a lot of pressure onto Shailin as well. So when you see Shailin go off, he hits a lot of rocket punches, he lands a meteor strikes, he gets a lot of kills. Otherwise, it's not happening, and Kant is the one pulling up the pressure on the other side.
I would say, yeah, of these 4 DPSs, it's actually Kant going off more consistently. It just seems that the other side of that is Nuns really struggling to go off, whereas compared to that, both the members of Hong Kong Attitude there, Mui and Shailin, are just having a little bit more general impact.
Well, I would say that Mui's actually been having a hard time, especially in those opening skirmishes. He has just been consistently the first target down. Haven't really seen much of Mui on the kill feed. It has been mostly Shailin and Kant. And what's made the difference, in my opinion, is you actually see one of the previous fights, Kant gets a double kill with the pulse bomb and then dies himself. Had he lived, that might have just been Machi flipping the point earlier.
Going to be getting right back into said fight as they start to close out on Shailin there, and that should be Machi again rebuffing Hong Kong Attitude. Late pick on a Ting as well. Hong Kong Attitude only have time to get this Cat back at the last minute.
And it's certainly getting very close to the 90% mark as we hit it just about now. Machi Esports in commanding fashion. Hong Kong Attitude still need to pick up these ultimates, and they've got to get them fast. This is about when you have to be forced to take a fight, and you might not even have the ultimates just yet. But Mango Giant, he's going to delay this on.
Randy to reset his mech in that as well. Kant already around the backside, forces out Transcendence. Kiyomi goes down just before he gets his, and that could be all the difference here. Mui Pulse Bomb out, secures the crown. That's a big one, and Kant and Nuns really need to go off. They can actually afford to hold on to their ultimates though, so Machi smartly take that fight loss on the chin, and they have now the ultimates to pull it back and even up the score.
Exactly, and this is what you have when you have that lead as well. 30% buffer that Machi can actually work with, despite the fact that Kiyomi went down with ultimates. Now Resty is about to pick up his D-Crown as well. Machi is so set up to win this. This will be a very big disappointment if Machi do not flip it back over, because they're so far ahead.
Once again though, we're getting to the situation where one fighter win it and Resty is already down. Transcendence does not save him, but Nuns opening up. Pulse Bomb from Kant goes wide. Shailin is looking for something, and it's something indeed he finds in the form of Randy. Gets traded back by Kant though, who's still going off. Nuns didn't find too much with the Dragon Blade, but they are closing through these kills now as D-Crown getting the work done. No Talk can self-destruct to get back into the mech, and the sound barrier as well steers Machi clear through the rest of this fight. Hong Kong Attitude trying to keep it alive so they can regroup and recontest, but Mui getting picked off is going to make it hard. It's all Shaolin now, and he has the Meteor Strike just to stay alive. Slams down onto D-Crown though to again try and turn the tide, but they need to deal with Kant and Nuns. Here there is no health back to retreat back to. Randy can buy time with the self-destruct and create space. Machi haven't capped. Oh no! Machi never quite got the cap, and that self-destruct zoning was all it took given how long that fight went on for. That was so close.
And unfortunately, right at the end, the self-destruct, you said it, but someone needed to stay despite the self-destruct being there. Someone had to give up their life just to continue the overtime. That was absolutely critical. Machi were in still position to actually contest, but that one kill to Restia. The sound barrier going out before, the sound barrier getting eliminated because Restia got picked out at 95%. That's probably what changed the course of that entire fight.
That was...
Despite him respawning and still using it. It's just, it was not as efficient.
Yeah, that was really intense, and actually right on the cusp of being won as well by Machi, but Shaolin just kind of barely kept his team in that, and then actually was forced out of the fight. Had it not been for Randy just barely getting that self-destruct, that would have been a very different story. And by the way, just before that, Randy had to reset the mech, so that's ultimate that got charged in the course of that one fight. Taking a look now at some replays, it's going to be sort of midway on that first point on Sanctum.
And both teams very high charged here, and it should be the support ultimates that really carry the weight here. You can see both of them already used on the Hong Kong Attitude side. Looking for the first pick coming on through here, as neither team can really take the advantage until Mango Jai does go down. And note that it was Hong Kong Attitude using support ultimates first, so it is Machi responding with both of their own after the fact that the two were already used on the other side. So now Mui, the only one that really commits the ultimate after the fight, killing Restia, doesn't have the impact here. Shaolin still retreats with his Meteor Strike, so he loses that one as well.
Yeah, and there was this interesting moment there with Mui. I mean, I can understand him using the Deadeye there because it was to try and swing the fight back. They did actually have the members to capitalize on that, given that Shaolin was still alive. Had the Deadeye got a little bit more than it did, but unfortunately it did not. It only caught the one, and the rest of the members were actually just barely positioned such that they could kind of retreat. I would normally say that was fairly well timed because there was no defense matrix available on the D.Va for that split second to block that up, and the D.Va was probably a bit too far away. There was also no Winston bubble. They didn't have the tools that normally block the Deadeye. They were just able to sheer use cover to get away from it.
So that was one of the few fights that Machi, well, one of the good fights that Machi really turned around because it was very even for both sides. Now let's take a look at another situation.
Final fight now.
And it should be the final fight. Now look at Restia. This is the guy that went down a little too early.
Yeah.
92% was actually when he died. Kiyomi still responds with the Transcendence, but now CQB responds himself with the Sound Barrier. So this is a very even fight. Notice that both DPSs on the Machi side have already committed, and now Restia respawns and rejoins.
Yeah, crucially though, Canton Nuns used their ultimates without getting too much done. So actually it was D-Crown who got most of the work done in terms of the kills picked up. But because it was D-Crown and not Canton Nuns getting killed, they ended up quite low, and actually Ting and Randy were able to keep this on knockdown. So remember I mentioned Randy's ultimate. You saw it a moment ago, there was 59%. This is where he really gets the work done to charge up that ultimate. Shaolin getting some key kills opened this up, but you can see now he was too low, had to retreat. Mui was dead, and had it not been for the self-destruct forcing the few members of Machi that were alive off the point, that would have gone on longer and actually could have still been a Machi win. So it was just this little micro thing, and absolute credit to Randy for getting that timing spot on and also being able to charge up that ultimate.
And positionally too, because he played the self-destruct right at the entrance of where Machi was trying to come in. If there were other Machi members around the other flanks, somewhere another wall they can hide behind, specifically that one big pillar in the middle of the camp point, that could have been someone contesting the point. And for Machi, if they knew they didn't have anyone that could contest the point, someone needed to give up their life to continue the contest anyway.
Exactly. On the whole, that was just a real game of inches. Both actually came down to essentially a single final fight. But now it is all one and done, and it was Hong Kong Attitude securing all of those final fights. So now onto Machi's pick. They're going to be taking us to Hollywood.
Absolutely, and Hollywood is a map that we're starting to see a lot more and more, which I'm pretty happy about because it's not Kings Row, so I'll take anything that's not Kings Row at this stage. And I think both of these teams have had some experience on this map. Now, specifically, I know that Hong Kong Attitude and AHQ had that exchange yesterday,
Just
which,
last
if I'm
night,
not
yeah.
mistaken, went to the way of Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah.
So now we go back to Hollywood, and Machi did pick this one as well. They're potentially picking into a Hong Kong Attitude favored map.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. I would say this is quite brave out of Machi, or at least very confident. There's another word that I would use, but I can't say it on air. And that's that Hong Kong Attitude beat Machi on Hollywood. Beat AHQ, excuse me, on Hollywood. It was AHQ's map pick when they went to that. If I'm not mistaken. Actually, I think I have that the wrong way around. It was actually Hong Kong Attitude's map pick, but the main point there is actually AHQ were very Hollywood favored. They've often picked it a lot, and I said similarly it was quite brave for Hong Kong Attitude to pick it. They surely must be coming in with a plan. So Machi, to pick this in light of that, in light of yesterday's result against AHQ, I think this is a very bold pick indeed, and they absolutely must have something planned. The question is what?
And we had the same thoughts, like you sort of mentioned yesterday when Hong Kong Attitude picked it. They must have something planned, and it did turn out what was planned was their ability to read what AHQ were doing, which is essentially them having Dizzy on the defensive sombra the entire time, read AHQ's defensive strategy and really outplay them there. So now, if you're Machi, you just watched that matchup between Hong Kong Attitude and AHQ. What have you learned about Hong Kong Attitude?
Is that an observatory?
Yeah, it is.
Must be.
It's the observatory in Hollywood.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
The observatory? Are there just no others?
It's the main one. Anyway.
The main, it's the main. There are actually others, but that one's the one. Well, in any case, it is the Hollywood. There's only one, so there is at least that going for them. This is the definite article, and with Machi getting the map pick, I would be surprised if they attack first. They are one of the teams that does, though, but I would assume this is them on the defense.
And for the Machi side as well, would like to see what Nuns is going to do here, because he's been known to play Soldier, he's been known to also be on the Genji and also onto the Doomfist as well. And actually, it's going to be the triple support, something we haven't seen for some time, but it was a Hollywood thing.
It was.
Some months ago that he specifically played on Cafe.
Last time we saw it, it was Flash Wolves on the defense of Hollywood that did this. So this seems to be Machi's plan. We'll see how it works out for them.
The goal of this composition is to outlast your opponent. You have much superior healing. And the nano boost onto the Winston is one of the weapons that you use offensively against the other team. So those are the keys to victory here, as well as staying alive and constantly applying pressure.
The only troublesome thing is that outlasting is a bit tricky when there is all this one-shot potential out of the Doomfist and McCree especially. So we'll have to see if Machi can not fall prey to any of those. And because they're trying to avoid those one-shot abilities and outlast, they're actually having to give up a lot of ground. This is almost a third already for Hong Kong Attitude, who are very much in control of the space here. And that's the opening pick. Yeah, it's onto D-Crown. So all that sustain not quite coming through as the follow-up is there on No Talk and Rest here. This is all just pure zoning, and the quick kill on Kand out of the headshot there should be all it takes now. With no DPS, Machi can't really contest this.
And I think you're absolutely right, because they played a composition that works well against maybe a pure dive, works well against soldiers, but against this one-shot materia, where you got guys like Louis that can headshot, he's on a double kill. Shailin gets himself further rocket punches as well. This composition with triple supports just doesn't work against it.
That's huge momentum off the back of that as well. And once again, it was Randy with a well-placed self-destruct. Forced Machi off the point. They had the numbers to contest it, but couldn't actually get through that choke point. And then Hong Kong Attitude really took a mile from that. Look at the lights up for Hong Kong Attitude now.
Exactly. It was a long fight as well, where Hong Kong Attitude got a lot of damage. And that's kind of the other thing you have to remember. Because there's so much healing, there's so much potential HP. The more potential HP there is, the more ultimate charge you get.
Shailin gonna have the Meteor Strike back to safety here, but did zone off the top line there. That's a good deflect, so that's one DPS, and then he kills himself as well. So Nuns can be pleased with that. Shailin's still in this fight though, and the Transcendence to keep him safe. Sound barrier out from Machi. They've already used their Transcendence, and the pressure is on the backliners, and it shows. Kiyomi goes down. Respawn now gonna be coming in from Mui before long as they try and pressure Nuns, but good closeout on Shailin. D-Crown really keeping his team in this one, and now Hong Kong Attitude are actually out of ultimates after all those ones were available at the top of the fight, and Machi are going to start to repel them.
And you have to look at Nuns as one of the key factors for that, because despite Kant going down to the Jedi, killing Mui there really set the stage for Machi. You traded DPS with DPS. Nuns still had a lot of impact. Shailin, he tried to get the kills. He did get one, but he also got taken down himself as well. He just couldn't really find anything among the mess. D-Crown was one that killed him during a Primal Rage. So for Machi, that was a huge defense from a deficit. Now they've stabilized.
Yeah, and on the whole, Nuns just had more impact than Shailin from the point where it was only the two of them left in the fight. So we'll have to see Hong Kong Attitude A, get more out of Mui this time, and B, get a little bit more out of Shailin.
Oh, Mui, the pressure onto him is so intense. Every single time.
Yeah, able to wheel back from it though and regroup as they pop No Talk out of the mech. Randy again creating kind of space to do that. Stops the support coming in to save No Talk. This gives Hong Kong Attitude a window where that Diva can't be blocking up Mui, but Kiyomi catching a shot through on Mui means that opportunity may not be there anymore.
And this is the strength of Machi. Somehow they always find a pick onto Mui, whether that's diving in the Shailin, whether that's dying with Nuns on the Doomfist, whether that's a deflect from Nuns as well, whether that's just Kiyomi landing a fireball directly onto Mui. Somehow he gets taken down, and it always works in Machi's favor.
Now No Talk able to remix, so essentially the fight is reset. Hong Kong Attitude just barely ahead, actually not quite ahead in Ultimates. Restia has got that sound barrier where CQB a bit further off.
And they are just, they're in a position where this is totally defendable as well. As soon as Kiyomi gets to Transcendence, there's no way that Machi can effectively lose unless Mango Jai or unless Mui and Shailin get a really good string of one-shot kills.
That was a bit rough there for Nuns, getting nothing out of the Dragon Blade. Shailin getting picked off by Kant though, and Machi Esports just kind of want to go for a bit of a route. I mean, Hong Kong Attitude weathered the storm there using the defensive ultimates, but didn't actually get much of their own.
And by the way, the Kant distance isn't anything to write home about yet either. Hong Kong Attitude haven't pushed around the second corner. Machi Esports can still take advantage of that first roof. Getting past that first roof really stops up Machi's defense.
Looking to try and contest the high ground now. A little bit more of a slow and steady approach from Hong Kong Attitude. But they've got No Talk Smack. That's going to be the go button now. And a good sound barrier to keep Mango Jai alive as he lands a headshot on No Talk for good measure. Really making it worth it. As Nuns going down to Shailin, finally getting that work done that we were talking about. Now D-Crown man alone. They will at last get the payload back underway once they close out these last few members of Machi.
And the coordination has to come into question for Machi Esports there, because 3 members died and then Kiyomi used the Transcendence. He tried to save the dying members. Didn't really happen. Unfortunately, commits a Transcendence in a situation where his team was going to lose anyway. That's just putting Machi further and further behind. But the current distance defense they've had so far gives them buffer time to now come up for a second defense.
Speaking of second defense, they do not have many resources for that second defense, but as we always say, a single pulse bomb out of Kant, who has the best sticky record it seems so far this tournament, could completely decide the fight.
Exactly, and he's probably the one to watch here. Nuns as well.
Whoa.
Dragon Blade does come online very, very soon, but
D-Crown.
somebody has to deal with Mui.
And there's Kant immediately getting Shailin. Someone does have to deal with Mui, so they sent up D-Crown, but they don't even need to do that anymore. Kant, 3K now on the board.
Without a pulse bomb.
Does it all himself. Could be a single stick that does it, or maybe Kant just one clips 3 dudes.
I mean, this is something that you always have to consider. This man has been doing wonders for Machi Esports so far. This is the kind of pressure I expect out of Shailin when Shailin plays a Tracer, but Shailin's only been on the Doomfist. Yes, he's getting the rocket punches, but Kant is just getting kills like that without even using ultimates. Machi get another breath of fresh air.
And now again, Hong Kong Attitude. A lot of lights up in their favor.
That's a stick.
What a stick onto Mui. And that's one of those lights taken off the board. Now Shailin has to do double the work. And that's against Kant, who can still do so much on this Tracer. Nuns as well, they're going to pressure out Randy, force the self-destruct. He will be able to get back in the mech, but they are not on the payload, and they're still brawling their way towards it. Only just have Mui back in the fight.
And they've had to reset directly after Mui died. This is costing them so much time. You got 15 seconds left, a lot of ultimates, but you need to get that cart to the finish line. And I'm expecting Machi to have yet another defense, another wave of respawns, even if they lose.
They've got to go now, and Nuns is wanting to catch the backside as the column moves with this Dragon Blade, rather, and he's got CQB in his sights now as they get onto the payload, looking to get stuck into the thick of it. Transcendence forced out from Mango Jai. Nuns, no deflect as the Deadeye goes out, doesn't catch anyone, but Shailin opening up the kills now, going in with the Meteor Strike. The DPS is still there for Machi to do work, and now Nuns goes in, gets bumped back just a little bit, though, and starting to make kills as he's all on top of a Ting on top of him, and Mui closing him out. And at last, Mui, without that pressure coming out from the tanks of Machi, is able to put the damage down. They do lose Mango Jai, but a Ting is able to keep the fight alive with his Primal Rage. finding the pressure back onto Mui, and he will go down. No Talk keeping it alive as he picks CQB and stalls out with the mech. Randy nearly at a self-destruct, desperately needing it as Shailin gets closed down on by D-Crown. Still no self-destruct and no Primal Rage for a Ting. It's the Pulse Bomb to secure it, and Randy won't remech. Machi Esports will complete the hole just in front of point B.
Yeah, and don't forget the spawns favor Machi Esports right at the end there as well. It's Hong Kong Attitude that are struggling to get back to the cart, struggling to continue that overtime onto the cart. And the cart position probably wrote the story for that entire defense. Machi had such a great run with the cart stored up in the early stages that by the time that Hong Kong Attitude actually pushed it onto the end, you're into the overtime, and it's Machi favored anyway. Kant doesn't get a huge run of kills that time around. Nuns doesn't get a huge run of kills, but you have such a respawn advantage with reinforcements. You overpower Hong Kong Attitude at the end of the day.
That was very intense. Machi actually really stalled up Hong Kong Attitude, and they really struggled to kind of break that one through after getting a very, very high momentum start on the street space. So really good work by Machi on the defense.
You do have to question once again, though, where the coordination was for the defensive ultimates, because where the cut is, that was a very chaotic fight for both teams, and it did look like Machi were going to lose it at one point because you had a situation where Restia died with Sound Barrier. Kiyomi then uses the Transcendence after the fact, doesn't save his teammate, and then you have to rely on Restia respawning in time to use the Sound Barrier and for it to still be effective. Again, Kant goes down early, Nuns, Dragon Blade, we saw that from his perspective, couldn't find any hits, and it looked like it was all falling apart for Machi Esports. But Hong Kong Attitude, they also couldn't close out the game.
And how many times have we seen Kant just absolutely go off and secure the fights? And once again, it was actually the Pulse Bomb at the very end of that one that was able to close out the few remaining members of Hong Kong Attitude. So just the threat alone from this one Tracer player seems to be almost outweighing what either Shailin or Mui has been able to do so far.
And I got to give the credit to D-Crown, I think, at the end there. He was the one that really kept the fight alive. The tanks on both sides, or rather No Talk and D-Crown specifically, allowing Restia to come back in with the Sound Barrier, allowing Nuns and Kant a second opportunity to defend as well. But now, it will be Machi's attack.
Going to be running a Sombra, but it's going to be Mui on the Sombra, not Mango Giant. They're just running the double DPS, respecting the need for the extra healing.
Absolutely, and this is Hong Kong Attitude looking for a good first fight. One good fight here will allow them a good run of EMP plays, and EMPs will be where they buy their time.
Yeah, you're completely right about that. Machi taking their time in the setup, looking to get the good angles for Nuns as he's trying to get aggressive onto a Ting, and it pays off. A Ting not able to retreat up the stairs, and maybe not respecting that one-shot potential as well, as they just keep the pressure on. Good trade back onto Kiyomi, but now out of tanks. Mui gets pressured out, not close enough to the EMP. Nuns finally going down, and it's all Shailin versus Kant. Let's see who gets more work done, as Kant kind of has Shailin run around. Shailin also doesn't have any tanks to back him up, so this is going to be the first hit going over for Machi.
And it is the Tracer 1v1 that we've been waiting for so long as well. By the way, EMP does come online soon, but Shailin is the one holding down the fort. Everything Kant was doing on his defense, Shailin is now doing on his.
No Talk was able to get back in the mech there, but because he was demeched and Restia went down, Machi actually did the smart thing, I feel, and just kind of peeled back. They got a third, but now they will be fighting into the EMP.
And Machi did a great job of getting tanks. The Ting was the first skill. It's a death trap to be hiding on the stairs. When you got a guy like Nuns on the Doomfist that can instantly pop you out. Now Shailin hiding in the bushes, waiting for a pulse bomb, and he might just get one, but Kent, we've already seen what he can do with or without a pulse bomb.
And that without is crucial. If he gets something both with and without the Pulse Bomb, then he could absolutely pull the weight in this fight. Mui getting very hard pressured, able to retreat. That's not the EMP, but it's not a great one. Yeah, does at least get the Diva and the Pulse Bomb from Shailin. It's going to get good pressure on the mech, and indeed D-Mech, No Talk. That's a good start. Randy, though, on the cusp of living his own mech. Mui trying to keep the pressure on in the fight as they're forced to use the Transcendence to stay in it as they lose CQB. Finally convert onto D-Crown, just shy of that Primal Rage, but the Transcendence from Kiyomi keeps Machi safe while No Talk remechs. Nuns getting off the back line to do the work, and good kill indeed. Actually, they catch No Talk before he gets back in the mech. Shailin and Mui are really doing the work, and Randy again, the self-destruct to force Machi back out as Nuns gets picked off. Actually, getting the route on Restia too.
I think you said it there, Shailin and Mui doing the work, because those are the two members that never got taken down. Despite Nuns getting the good punches onto guys like Mango Chai, onto Randy's mech as well, they're just not getting the DPS as Mui. He even whiffed the EMP, but it was just good enough to get No Talk's mech, so something that they still bought out of very little.
I've really got to again compliment Randy's timing on these self-destructs. He has used them so beautifully to secure fights where otherwise it would have been dicey, and that's another EMP, but this time the follow-up isn't as clean. They pop D-Crown, actually finally getting the route now onto Nuns, who's forced well back. A Ting wanting to go aggressive, but does need to respect the damage, but that's a full retreat now, and Hong Kong Attitude look for the route. They do indeed get it, and as Machi's time drops below 1 minute, they're looking in dire straits now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what a Hong Kong Attitude defense with the EMP rotation successfully really looks like. Despite Machi Esports having some good trades, not good enough trades to really get good progress. You expected 2 ticks by now, they've only got 1. So Machi Esports still have a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it.
But this is their window. No EMP available just now, given that that route wasn't completed from Hong Kong Attitude. They actually got away with their key tank members, and good pressure on Demui. They do not want to let him charge that back up. That means they're right on top of Mango Chai. D-Crown going to get aggressive with the sound barrier on him and pumps the Primal Rage as well. A lot of hit points to get through for that one to work out for them. Charlotte Demui trying desperately to get the work done in the fight once again. Kiyomi is the pick.
EMP's
no
available.
Talk can reset with that self-destruct, but the EMP can stop the self-destruct in the nick of time. Actually, not quite. It seems No Talk. That's Randy's self-destruct, and he converts off it as Resty goes down. That's D-Crown as well. There's no time left for Machi. They're going to get burst health on point A, and I thought Machi's defense was good. Hong Kong Attitude showing a whole other level of skill.
You're definitely not wrong about that. Machi had a great defense. Hong Kong Attitude had an even better one. This time, you just have to look at Shailin. You just have to look at Mui. Mui, though, he didn't have all good moments. He had some good moments. Shailin, though, I'm not too sure that he really even died there. He was always consistently pulling weight for his team, and it always goes back onto both the Tracer teams, both the Tracer players on the teams, rather. Kant on the defense, and then Shailin on the defense. Both of them on the defense have been great.
That really was beautiful. Interesting that Mui's got to play the game. I think this is just after the point 8 cap. Yes, indeed it was.
String of kills that he got.
And this is the self-destruct that I talk about. Everyone from Machi was on the other side of that mech. They couldn't safely go past it. So really well placed by Randy. I cannot give this guy enough praise for how he's played this D.Va so far in this series as a whole. And this is someone who we've already been complimenting for his Zarya play. Haven't even seen that one yet. And with that, plus all the play that the DPS has been pulling out, you mentioned Shailin, Hong Kong Attitude will rightfully pick themselves up the second win to put themselves 2-0 up in the series.
And dominant fashion as well. And there were a few fights in there that you expected Machi to come out on top of, but just enough members from Hong Kong Attitude alive and impactful to keep that defense alive for them. And the biggest thing is they only got 1 tick. Machi Esports never got their second, third, and that's very important because you expected the second, third to come out. Had that come out, maybe they're in a much more winnable position where they can actually finish A, but just not the case.
And certainly you don't really want to have to play for thirds on what is just a point A cap on hybrid. So it was already rough for Machi in that regard, and they kind of, after getting that initial third on what was a decent fight, got just barely repelled, and that was all it took for Hong Kong Attitude to get the EMP economy up and dig in their feet. Let's take a look at some replays now as we approach what was the final fight on Hong Kong Attitude's own attack, and we can see how Machi themselves did dig in their heels.
That's that big
It was, yeah, and it was already looking a little bit rough for them at the start, but you mentioned something key, and that was the ultimate usage was very messy. Shailin got nothing, Kiyomi got huge value, and that seems to be a common theme over this fight as a whole. You then see Mui and Mango Jai starting to get a lot of work done, but the ultimates just don't quite come through. They've only got the Primal Rage to work with here. A Ting has to use it to save his life, and now he's just kind of off to the side trying to zone out respawners, which means he's not actually there to defend from the likes of D-Crown and No Talk.
And this is why you got to compliment the tanks, because both the DPSs went down. Canton Nuns very quickly. Nuns lost the Dragon Blade to almost nothing, but D-Crown stays alive. No Talk gets a kill with the self-destruct. CQB, rather Vestia, comes back in with the sound barrier as well, just to help the team. And by the time that's all over, Canton Nuns have respawned, rejoined the fight. The damage has returned.
And it was Canton Nuns that Ating was off trying to stop from rejoining the fight. So actually, he also failed in that regard. I mean, if that was his plan, like it put him in a situation where he exposed the rest of his team and then didn't even get the payoff for that. That's that kind of risk-reward scenario. And it's kind of unfortunate to see that, but you're right, it was this slightly undisciplined fight on the whole out of Hong Kong Attitude in terms of the ultimate usage. And also we have to mention the positioning in among that. They were scattered for a lot of it, and we know how good D-Crown is at taking advantage of that and indeed forcing scattering as well with his Primal Rages. He is really great at isolating members, and if you're already isolated, he's just going to further that and stop you from affecting the fight altogether.
Absolutely. So, you know, and this makes Machi look like a more well-rounded team because every part of that team, whether it's the tank line, the DPS line, the support line, someone pulls the weight. It just so happens there's a level of coordination that does seem to be a little bit lacking, and that's when you have the cases of one support dying crucially with an ultimate, or, you know, another support ulting in a situation when the players just weren't saved in time. It's just kind of messy ultimate. So when we see the macro play, that's when things get a little bit messy. That's why it looks so chaotic for Machi. But the fact they're able to pull it through on individual merit, and the player that really stands out in individual merit has to go back to Kant as well for that
absolutely,
triple
absolutely. But at any rate, it has been Hong Kong Attitude, despite Machi having great coordination and good defense, who have come out the better of the series so far. Like I said, 2-0 up, and next up will be Assault, which gets to be their pick.
Absolutely. So that is 2 maps out of the way now into the series, and this might go a little bit further, but we'll see at least one more map. Hong Kong Attitude, like you said, in the lead so far. Map 3 comes up right after this break. Welcome back once again to OPC Season 2. We're in the middle of match number 2 of the evening, and it is Hong Kong Attitude taking on Machi Esports. So far, 2-0 for Hong Kong Attitude in the lead.
Yeah, now we return to the home side map pick, which will be Hong Kong Attitude's pick for Assault. I'm going to be honest, I don't feel like this is particularly swingy in who gets the map pick. neither of these teams have any one pick that I would say they're massively favored on. Hong Kong Attitude do like that Temple of Anubis and are very good at it, but I don't think that's like by any significant factor. And we've seen them have good performances and indeed bad performances of all kinds of assault maps. So really, this is actually a very good opportunity for Machi Esports to turn this one back around. I feel like this is probably the most neutral point they're going to get now.
Probably, and it's going to be an interesting one. Horizon hasn't come up in a while, and I know both teams have a good Horizon, especially Machi actually have a decent Horizon gear. What's really been working well for Hong Kong Attitude so far is the McCree and the Doomfist combo. That's been their go-to, and it has been the most effective. But we did get a little bit of a sneak peek of Shylin back on the Tracer, and I gotta say, that was almost even better. Shylin is so good right now. He's amazing on the Doomfist, he's amazing on the Tracer, and it almost doesn't matter what this team is playing. It has looked pretty good. The only sort of letdown is the fact that Hong Kong Attitude didn't finish their Hollywood attack, so maybe it is time to see Shylin on a little bit more Tracer.
Just maybe, yeah, that's exactly... I think the one thing that Hong Kong Attitude can kind of hold on to here is the Sombra play they do get out of Mango Jai. We saw Mui pulling it out on the Hollywood there, but on Assault, they were the first team to run it on attack on Temple of Anubis to great effect. There's also a lot of use it can have on Volskaya. On the whole, I would expect one of those two matches maps purely for that factor, but there's actually so much potential to go really anywhere, and I would almost want to see them actually take it to a Hanamura to kind of have more of a neutral ground between the two of them. And I do believe yesterday's match against AHQ played out on Hanamura as well.
You also don't want to be a team that gets pigeonholed to doing Sombra, like, oh, this is the Sombra team. They gotta do the Sombra every single time. And now Hong Kong Attitude look flexible enough that actually don't look like they have to do it every time. And even if they do, it could be Mui or it could be Mango Jai, and they're both effective. So you want to be this kind of flexible team that has a lot of variety. And so far, Hong Kong Attitude have done just that.
Yeah, they had the options, and that's a really significant factor. In fact, that's part of why I feel this Assault is just this really neutral ground. Still waiting on the map pick for that, by the way. For Machi to kind of turn this one back around, I think, first of all, they need a bit of a favorable pick. You mentioned Horizon Lunar Colony, but we are going to be going to Volskaya. Not too unsurprising out of Hong Kong Attitude, but like I said, they really could have gone anywhere. Now the question is, are they going to run a Sombra, and how are they going to run a Sombra? Will they use Mui? Will they use Mango Jai and run triple DPS?
I'm actually expecting, out of Hong Kong Attitude, based on, I guess, historical record, most likely, most recently from this season, they're going to do Mui most likely on the Sombra. But if we go back to point B, maybe then you go to the Mango Jai. But it really kind of depends on what they value more. Do they value the DPS more with Mui going to something like McCree or Soldier, or do they value having, having it on the support where you need the two supports, or do you need the two DPSs?
Yeah, it's a really... I suppose the takeaway from that actually is they have the flexibility, they have the options, and that's exactly what you were just saying. They're not pigeonholed into one thing, and that is actually one of the many factors that has seen this team have the improvements they've made. This is very different to the Hong Kong Attitude we first saw, and to that end, it really means Machi actually have their work cut out for them. I mean, right now, this kind of is Hong Kong Attitude series to lose. They have had the better match record against the other teams in this tournament. And as much as this is a bit of a rival matchup between these two, Hong Kong Attitude have been favored coming into it and now have the opportunity to close it out on their own map pick.
So the differences I'm really taking notice of between both the teams are you have a good individual players on both sides. You have guys like Kant and Shylin that can really pull weight, but the difference is so far that Machi have slipped up on a number of macro players where it just seems disconnected. The coordination isn't there, and they've had to rely on Kant getting triple kills. They've had to rely on Nuns getting a bunch of kills as well. Somebody making a big play for Machi to swing back in. If that doesn't happen, you get a result like you see on Hollywood A, and Machi just don't cap out at all.
I would just like to say the robot did not dance.
Thank you.
So that everyone is, so in case you were wondering, the robot still has not danced. This evening's Robot Dance Report comes to you live. It's like when you're on Hurricane Watch, only it's like Robo Dance Watch.
So, once again, when you really look at these two teams, and I think the Widowmaker pick is going to be interesting here if it is real. And mind you. It is.
It's oh my god, I don't believe it's dancing! The robot danced! It's real, guys, it's real! I told you all! I told you the robot danced! And as the doors open, honestly, I don't care who wins anymore. This has been a great night.
All right, I can't argue with that.
Well, it is actually going to be the Sombra out the gate on the defense for Hong Kong Attitude with that triple DPS and Shylin returning to the Doomfist, which means Mui actually pulling out the Tracer. And that is the flexibility of this team. Good pick onto Mui though, as Kant does get zoned off, but he is going to get away with his life. And now Hong Kong Attitude, little lean on the defense and Machi set up.
Certainly in Machi Esports. This is good positioning so far in Hong Kong Attitude. They've got to be the ones to be aggressive here. They don't have the opportunity to play the long range game. It's a very tight-knit, very close range, very aggressive team
Nice
that they need to take advantage of.
And they got a lot of members low, really just the pressure was there. Good bump onto Nuns actually, but they need a little bit more than that. Randy is staying alive for now, but Canda's going to be able to demech him, and Shylin doesn't really have much to go off in terms of tanks to support him if he wants to go in. CQB getting picked out as well. And unless Mango J gets a really huge EMP that they're able to convert off with Shylin, they might not be able to get back in this, but actually Shylin picking Cant, and that's the EMP out, means they pick up D-Crown. They are just barely holding on to the Shylin, also getting out with his life to that health pack as they pick off Restia. The reinforcements from Hong Kong Attitude just barely enough to hold down with only a third gone.
They didn't lose Shylin, which is very important there, despite, you know, a couple of chaotic things happened there. One of the good plays that he made was knocking Nuns off the side, so being able to just collect crucial Machi members, despite how well set up they were, I like the aggression out of Hong Kong Attitude.
Now, EMP is going to be able to be available again now for this next fight. And they have the ultimates coming up as well. So, actually really have their work cut out for them. But Kant can always just swing it wide open with their big pulse box. Throws out the CQB, does go wide, but he's got the damage on CQB anyway. Doesn't quite close it out. Gets out with his life, though. That's going to be the EMP they're fighting through now.
We're nearly onto EMP territory, like you kind of said, and in fact, everyone's kind of close to the ultimates here, but EMP landed on 2.
Yeah, didn't really catch many people, but they're converting the kills anyway. Had already killed Kant and the closeout on Nuns as well. Shylin maybe didn't need to commit the Meteor Strike, but they convert the extra kills anyway. Little leaner on ultimates now for the next defense, but so far, they have really beaten back Machi and run down a lot of that clock.
And this is starting to really look like Hollywood all over again. You're in a position where the EMP is consistently rotated. Even when it's not there, you have other ultimates. You have a team now that can primal rage. CQB should be charging up very slowly here, and Mui will be sitting on a pulse bomb soon as well. So for Machi, they got to find an opening, and it's things like no talk having to reset mech by changing onto Rissa, then back to the Diva that just really slow them down.
Much better.
Mango Jai already well toward that EMP once again, can get charged up very, very quickly once the fight breaks out. So Machi have to still factor it in. Only just have ultimates of their own. Oh,
it's just going to slow Machi down even more. We're already onto the 1 minute mark. So much time has passed, so little progress has been had.
And now this will definitely be an EMP available. Yeah, Machi at least don't get completely routed, but they're kind of forced to use the Primal Rage here just to break out of this. But Kiyomi gets picked off right as he throws out the Nano Boost onto Nuns' Tactical Visor. It mostly gets blocked out by Randy. Does get a quick pick onto CQB with the Helix Rockets, and they close out on Shylin. Now they have the opportunity to go. Self-destruct out from Randy though, and Mango can still commit the self-destruct as they pick Randy before he remixes. This is big for them as the EMP goes out, but Mui can't convert. Gets a couple, but Machi is still in this. Nuns is set up, and Canda's still in the fight, and that's going to be all they need to secure point A at last.
Yeah, that's extremely important to note. I think Hong Kong Attitude might be going for a token defense here. Members regrouping. They don't have a lot of time to go for this, and Hong Kong Attitude look like they want to take the risk. They're positioning for it.
Yeah, it seems they're going to go for it. The tanks are still on their way, but they're not there just yet. Sound barrier ends. They will at least get on the point. And actually, they have been able to regroup. But Shylin already picked is big for Machi Esports, who only need to hold down the fort here. But if they lose it, they do not get this cap at all. Randy demexed, and it's looking good for them now. A Ting trying to get the work done. Does find Kiyomi with the help of Mui, but Shylin a long way away from the fight as Nuns opens out with the Tac Visor to try close it. Gets the work done, and Kant as well. They get the cap, and there's still members of Hong Kong Attitude straggling around here. Machi kind of have an opportunity to snowball a bit now.
And ultimately, that was pretty good for Machi Esports because we were already into the overtime, which means for Hong Kong Attitude, you're not buying yourself any more additional time. Now Machi Esports just got to get directly onto B, start a fight very quickly, get in there before the EMP.
Ooh, Mui only just getting out with his life, and Kant nearly went down in the follow-up as well. So very much down to the wire there, but Machi well set up to keep the momentum alive. Like I said, Mango just shy of an EMP.
closer he gets, the more dangerous it is for Machi Esports, who don't come in with a lot of time onto B. They need to make every single moment count. They've already committed. D-Crown's already in.
Yeah, D-Crown had to ult just to survive Mui's pulse bomb. That was a good catch out from Hong Kong Attitude there, but they need to get a little bit more done. They do pick out Nuns. That is big for them, but the self-destruct out from No Talk. Actually, he doesn't get back in the mech, so Machi are going to have to regroup and did use quite a few ultimates.
And Machi had opportunity there. They just killed Mango Chai. They stopped the EP from coming up. They got a little bit scared when Shylin decided to media strike, and Machi couldn't find any additional positioning. They lost their momentum, and now they've fully backed off. 2 minutes 48 remaining. They've got barely any time to work with.
Yeah, given how long it took them to cap point A, you're exactly right there. Need to at least get a third here, but there is always the potential to fully cap out. That is always just one Cant pulse bomb away.
Certainly is, but Kent, he does a lot of work without pulse bomb. He needs to do that right now. Here comes
Big EMP, straight into the back line of the team, and they instantly convert onto Kiyomi and follow up on D-Crown. Mango Chai will lose his life for it, but honestly, all's well that ends well. Actually, the Tracers do go 1 for 1 in the middle of that there, so not ideal for Hong Kong Attitude, but they get the respawns anyway, and it's all just about burning down the clock.
And they've burnt down so much time. This is about 6 minutes total, 4 on the first cap and 2 already on this one. Machi Esports, they've used their ultimates. They're finding it very difficult to get a big charge of ultimates up. They haven't got a single tick yet onto B as well, and now comes the pause in.
We'll have details on what the cause of the pause is in just a few moments, but so far, Machi finally coming up on the cusp of some crucial ultimates. That could be what they need for this next offense, but even when that seems to have been the case, actually, on the whole, they just seem to have struggled to get in past things like the Sombra and just the flank pressure that Mui has been applying so far. Kant has still been going off, but this time he's not overcoming the pressure that comes out of Shylin.
And the biggest factor here is time for Machi Esports because, like you sort of mentioned, you want to be building up these ultimates. You want to be going in on one big fight where you can just commit and build enough momentum to just cap it out all in one go, because that's all they can go for. They got about 2 minutes. They don't have anything. They don't have any time to play a slow game here. It's got to be off one push, and they got to try and avoid the overtime if they can. But they just don't have the time to build ultimates, so they have to be able to take fights as they go.
Still not quite sure as to the exact nature of the pause, but with any luck will be resolved before too long.
And by the way, the way Kiyomi's got his keyboard, I wonder if that's how he actually plays.
There are some of them who actually really have their keyboards very sideways.
This one's 90 degrees.
Most have it on a slope, but I mean, some people really, they go like really hardcore on the side.
I definitely find it quite weird. You'd have to be tilting your entire body onto the side.
I couldn't do that. Like, I don't know. I guess like naturally your arm kind of can come across at a 90-degree angle, but I don't know. I'd find it a bit like, I feel like if I was sitting like that, I feel like I'd be like, what's the most interesting man in the world? Like the way he kind of like leans forward on that one elbow. Like,
Yeah, that.
I don't
like
always play Overwatch, but when I do, my keyboard is like this. Like,
It did look like it was either Restia or Kiyomi that had the issue with their computer as well. So,
my keyboard's not working. Have you tried turning it the right way around? Oh, there we go.
You got to. So it's 90 degrees one way. You got to face it the other way.
Yeah, he's got it like. Needs to like. I don't know. That would just be so uncomfortable. Well, should be a quick fix. Still, doesn't look like it's anything too drastic. And this is looking rough for Machi. I'm going to go ahead and be the first to say it. Right. Machi are struggling on B. They nearly failed to cap A. They are 0-2 down in the series. On the whole, Hong Kong Attitude have consistently outclassed them. Even when it's come close, for example, on Control, on Nepal, the very first map between these two teams, came very close, came down to a single fight, but Hong Kong Attitude consistently pulled it off. Then on Hollywood, Machi getting first held out on A and then nearly having a repeat performance here. It's Hong Kong Attitude's game to lose.
I think so as well. For Machi Esports, they just have to find that one big opening and maybe they can get this done. Not capping here would be a big detriment for them. They just have to cap under any circumstance.
And they've got that window where the EMP isn't quite up just yet, and they need to get something done with the Dragon Blade, especially that is about to come up. And also can, as always, could just open it out with a Pulse Bomb, and is looking for it. That's a big one onto Mango Chai. That's the opener they need. Pulse Bomb, great stick onto Randy, will demech him. He's able to self-destruct, but that self-destruct is only going to create space, isn't going to get any kills, and now Nun's looking to open up to secure the fight for them. Kiyomi does go down in the mix, and Ating actually getting another trade kill in there. Nuns has to put the blade away, doesn't get enough done with it, and Ating starting to buff it back. These DPS members, good follow-up onto the rest of these members of Machi, and what was such a great start turns into a rout.
Ating did such a great job that you see the way he bumps around Nuns in the middle of his Dragon Blade. He's trying to get onto CQB, and Ating just says no. Every time Nuns gets close, Ating punches him way into the Primal Rage and chases him up as well. But Machi, what a great start. Good individual plays. He gets the kill onto Mango Jai. He gets the stick onto Randy's mech as well. Nuns then gets the kill onto the Diva. Everything worked in the early stage of that, but the end of it was all Hong Kong attitude.
And what they actually didn't have in that fight was the support ultimates to back it up and get them that extra mileage. Now they don't have the DPS ultimates once again, and Mango going straight in for an EMP onto the supports. Kiyomi, the support ultimate they did have instantly down. Mui goes off, and already Machi getting beaten back. They need to lose this fight quick smart, because they only have time for one more.
Absolutely. Nuns just has to die here. Looks like he's already gone, and 23 seconds remaining. If they cap, it's going to be in the overtime. So for Hong Kong attitude, they've done everything they need to do.
Oh, what a read! That is so huge from Shaolin. The rocket punch into the wall, and Kant is only going to be joining this fight late now as they get into the overtime. Machi has got to go.
That was an incredible rocket punch where he knew where the recall was going to come in. Now I'm actually going to go 5v6, kind of like you said.
And again, Shaolin instant give onto Restia, and D-Crown trying to buy time, but he's just not putting this team into disarray. Hong Kong attitude steering clear, Kiyomi in with this Transcendence, but still, they're not getting anything done. They only got Mango Jai in that, and the respawns will be there. Nuns gets closed out, and Shaolin is just popping off. Punches left, right, and center. Look at this guy go for the welterweight championship. They're going to hold out Machi shy of even a single third after nearly fully holding them on point A as well. And once again, it is Randy to get the final kill, of that game. Now all they need to do is cap a third for themselves, and it is done.
Shaolin, you're absolutely right about this guy. He's closing the door onto Machi so many times.
He's punching the door shut.
Just when you think Machi have a window to get in, it's always Shaolin. It's somebody on that team that's able to find that counter trade, getting the kill onto Kant. That was an incredible stagger because that was a crucial moment when Machi actually wanted to attack. They had to commit with 5 because they had about 3 seconds left to go, and Shaolin just takes their team apart nonetheless.
That was so huge. I mean, first the pick onto Kant just to really stagger the team as they went in for the final attack, and then also the kill onto Restia as Kant joined the fray. At no point did Machi have even numbers coming into that fight, and it was all Shaolin.
And it seems like Machi are able to kill Mango Jai. That's the one guy they can always find. This time around, it's not Mui, but that's probably also because Mui's playing the Tracer. But it's not like Machi can't get the trades. They just can never get favorable trades because guys like Shaolin, maybe even Randy on the backside of the self-destructive, something just keep pushing Machi out. And for every kill that Machi gets, Hong Kong attitude gets one. And when you're the defenders like Hong Kong attitude are, those always favor you.
Now Machi really have their work cut out for them to at least get one win back on the board to keep their hopes alive in this series. Hong Kong attitude, like I said, with a win, secure themselves a spot in the top 4 no matter what happens between Blank and AHQ later in the day, and it will at last be the culmination of what they have been working on since halfway through Season 1. We do have just a little bit of a delay here, and it does look to again be Kiyomi's PC having some troubles with the sideways keyboard.
And this needed to be the map that Machi comes back in. This is their final opportunity. Going down 0-3 would be such a shame for this team who have had some really good runs so far in Season 2, who had some really good runs in Season 1, but it was always Hong Kong attitude that kept pushing them down the ladder. Machi wanted to make 3rd in Season 1. It was Hong Kong attitude that pushed them back down to 5th. Hong Kong attitude gatekeeping 4th this time around. Hong Kong attitude looking to get 4th, gatekeeping Machi once again.
And it actually seems that there's an interesting thing here, right? Machi have actually done something Hong Kong attitude have failed so far to do, and that's beat Flash Wolves. It was quite a long time ago now, but Machi do actually have that claim to fame. Hong Kong attitude yet to pick that one up. But you know what? If they can just straight up beat Machi instead, that's even better. And it kind of goes a little bit beyond what you said, by the way, with gatekeeping 4th place. They'd actually be tied for 3rd. And the head-to-head would actually technically have them ahead of that because they've beaten both Blank and AHQ. So regardless as to who wins that, Hong Kong attitude would be tied for 3rd in score and secure in 3rd in terms of the head-to-head with the team they're tied with. But that is if they win this.
And it does look like, you know, Hong Kong Attitude so close now. It only takes a little bit, and they should have it. What Machi need to do here is have a really successful A. You need to be doing what Hong Kong Attitude did to you, which is essentially lock you out until the overtime, and then the cap out comes in the overtime, and then you have a very defendable B. This is, again, assuming that Hong Kong Attitude are just going to get A, and that does also seem inevitable.
Kind of does, but it does have to be said that regardless as to who wins this and whether Hong Kong Attitude closes out right here and now or whether it goes to a game 4, I think the biggest story of tonight has been finally towards the end of the first round robin of Season 2, the long-awaited return of the dancing Volskaya robot.
He's always been there. You just don't see him.
I kind of want Blizzard to put out some information on, like, why? Like, why is that there? How often does it happen? What are the chances? I've seen it twice now.
Better question is why not?
Yeah, I'm definitely not crazy. I've seen it twice now, but, like, is this like a shiny Pokemon? Like, what's the incidence of occurrence here? How often could we see the dancing robot potentially? Are we entering, indeed, a golden age of dancing Volskaya robots?
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Well, we certainly do seem to be entering a golden age of results for Hong Kong Attitude. All they need to secure this is 1/3 of point B, and they will secure themselves a 3rd place finish at the end of the first round robin with a very real shot at making playoffs in Season 2, which they failed to do in Season 1.
And you do have to be quite concerned if you're Blank or AHQ, because those are the two teams currently sitting in a position where they risk losing out on that top 4 to Hong Kong Attitude. That is a threat presented to them. So the winner of that match later on tonight is going to be, it's going to feel much better, and certainly the loser will be put in a position where they have to go head-to-head with Hong Kong Attitude to make sure they can maintain that spot. And both of those teams have already lost to Hong Kong Attitude. It just seems like now for Hong Kong Attitude, it is their run in Season 2 of just collecting all of these wins. They just haven't got Flash Rules yet, they don't have Radiant, but every other team they have beaten.
And that's why you could say that they have a fair and square 3rd place. It's as simple as you beat every team below you. The one exception, actually, if I'm not mistaken, was Mega Thunder? No, actually, that is incorrect.
Oh, no, so you're absolutely correct. They did lose to Mega Thunder.
Yeah, it was Mega Thunder. But even then, right? Even then, I can honestly say, I think if those two teams were to play tonight, that would also go the way of Hong Kong Attitude. And that's just based off the fact that they are currently beating Machi and have had all those other wins so far. So now, out the gates on their attack, can they secure it?
Machi Esports got a lot to do here, but a good run of EMP, similar to what Mango Jai had on Hong Kong Attitude, could be what they need. But speaking of Mango Jai, he's going to play the counter Sombra, one of the few counter Sombras in the game that really know what it takes.
All the health pack control is there already for Machi in this pocket of Nuns. Hong Kong Attitude do have the triple DPS. It's that explosive kind of team comp. It either explodes in your face or explodes on the enemy team, and they go diving on in. Good aggression onto Restia, but no picks just yet. It's Nuns that they convert on, but they lose Shaolin in the process. A Ting getting pressured out as Mui has to kind of pull back for a moment. They're struggling to just kind of break the defense just yet as Randy gets the mech. A Ting gets beaten back as well, and Hong Kong Attitude may just have to take this one on the chin.
They may just have to, but killing Nuns is actually really huge because now that puts Mango Jai ahead. What the strength was for defense is your Sombra defensively should always be ahead of the attacking Sombra, your advantage. But because Nuns went down, Mango Jai is going to get his EMP first, and that might just be all they need to get the cap.
And with the ultimates they have available now, they will have that sound barrier and the pulse bomb. That could be all they need to convert off a good EMP.
They're certainly definitely in position for that. And Machi Esports, they hold on, but they need to hold on for even longer. They don't have as many tools as they would like to hold on to this. And here comes the commit.
Straight into the middle is the EMP, and already the commit is there. They pop No Talk straight out of the mech. D-Crown really hard pressured out as well. Overtime being done to heal him up, but they have survived. They've weathered the storm. They D-mech Randy as well and start matching Hong Kong Attitude blow for blow as they drop a Ting. Nuns has kind of stayed alive through this. Finally, Kiyomi going down to the back end, but Shaolin and Shaolin and Mango Jai both getting buffered out of this one, and Mui now going to be the last DPS to fall. So once again, Hong Kong Attitude get repelled.
Yeah, D-Crown and Restia holding on to the fort there as Restia just got sound barrier in time, but looked like it wasn't going to be soon enough. He saves 5 of his members with it, then Nuns commits with an EMP of his own, and suddenly Machi are in position to get the turnaround because Hong Kong Attitude, despite having a good initial engage, didn't get enough momentum to continue that attack.
Actually swapping off the Sombra now. Nuns is going to be short of an EMP for a moment here, but can almost certainly get it up through the fight. Oh my goodness, China getting picked up, so now Nuns will be able to get an EMP up in time for a full defense. And actually, Hong Kong Attitude have lost a lot of time now.
I actually have 1 minute 30 left remaining. I think for Machi Esports, holding out for another 1 minute 30 isn't that impossible to do, especially not when you consider that Nuns should be picking up the EMP at any time. The kill onto Shailin is very important just for that. The delay allows the EMP to be charged.
And that's the thing when you are Machi and you're in that situation on the defense. Just got to take it one fight at a time. But this is going to be one of the harder fights to weather through. All they really have is the EMP. They're going to be relying on D-Crown and Kant to capitalize.
Well, for many teams, all you really need is the EMP as well. So it really comes down to what they can get out of it, and then more importantly, where the follow-up is. It looks
there
good
it
so far.
goes. But Kant was low, so he's not able to capitalize too much. Nuns does secure Mango Jai, though, and Shailin, without that mobility, really hurting and goes down to no talk. So again, Hong Kong Attitude actually get rebuffed. It looks like they're trying to build up some kind of ultimate advantage now, but actually Machi now have the time to get their own back online.
Well, they've got 35 seconds for both sides to do that. Hong Kong Attitude are actually hit in terms of ultimates, and this window is important because Nun's super low in the EMP. That was definitely an effective EMP, but Machi don't have anything else to use. Hong Kong Attitude, I think this is the push that they win. But Machi Esports just got to stall until overtime happens.
They've got to go now, and yeah, one fight at a time, and it comes down to one fight. Machi could hold it right here, right now, and take us to a game 4. Hong Kong Attitude need to cap it and then still get that third on point B. So it's kind of coming down to the wire for them. When are they going to press the go button? There they go in now with a Ting trying to lead the charge. They get onto the point itself, but Mui pressured out. They need to convert into kills and pick Nuns before he gets the EMP, trying to pressure out Kant. That's going to be the nano boost already committed. Self-destructs in on the point. And they're not really fighting much for it just yet, but Shailin drawing first blood onto Restia. EMP could still be a factor here, but Randy picks Kiyomi. Hong Kong Attitude looking stable now with the sound barrier in the pocket. Nuns trying to stay alive to get the EMP up, and No Talk and D-Crown are trying to stall out, but Cat is pressured out, and Mango Jai has the Transcendence. They need the EMP, but Nuns only just committing it now with no one left to follow up. D-Crown is too low, and Nuns gets pressured out. That is going to be the cap for Hong Kong Attitude on point A. Only needs to be a third on point B. Nearly getting it there, Machi, but not quite. Now it's another 4 minutes.
And I think you had to expect the Hong Kong Attitude was going to camp. They were always ahead in that situation. Machi were always behind. Restia died at 90% ult. Very unfortunate. For Hong Kong Attitude, they actually overcommitted to that. They got really defensive. Nuns should have saved the EMP. You should notice, okay, we're going to go for the B defense here. A is done. And now for Hong Kong Attitude, they don't have a lot going into this. For Machi, they also don't have a lot.
There is a big window while that EMP is charging up with only 2% when Nuns respawn. It is not going to be coming up in a hurry. Could be a swing factor on a respawn. Now Hong Kong Attitude need to leverage this window, but a Ting already down is going to make it difficult. They need to bide their time. They're committing though as Mui gets the pulse bomb onto No Talk. They need to get a lot more done than just that, and good hack onto Mui. Hurts his mobility as Nuns closes out that kill, and that should be Hong Kong Attitude flagging the retreat.
That was pretty cool as well because the hack sort of came in mid-recall. So as the recall finished, he was still hacked out of the recall as well. So for Hong Kong Attitude, not successful on that attack, even using the ultimate in the middle of that, and for Machi Esports, holding on for dear life. But as soon as the defensive ultimates come up online, that's when things get really interesting, and Nuns waiting for this EMP.
Yeah, we'll be able to get it up for this next fight now. 67, 70% is pretty much a guaranteed thing for himself. Which means they've also weathered that storm where they didn't have that available. Kant's pulse bomb does go wide.
Revealing himself a little bit early there, but for Machi Esports, pulse bomb did go wide. You're absolutely correct. That means the sound barrier has to carry the rest of this fight. A lot of time gone though. It might be 2 minutes before Hong Kong Attitude actually attacks. So suddenly this becomes winnable for Machi Esports, and we might have a draw.
We may indeed, and that would be the best result possible for Machi right now. Nuns going deep. Oh, pick from Shailin. That's disastrous. That is the one resource they had, but he will respawn. So that means Hong Kong Attitude need to convert now. They go in on top of the sound barrier out of Machi. Mango Jai picking up No Talk Smack, but they lose some of the DPS, and that was a crucial ultimate they could have used. Shailin is struggling to find the way into the fight. Busy closing down on No Talk as Randy getting back into the mech after the self-destruct. Shailin keeps the work done. They only need that third, and Machi are lead on members, D-Crown stalling out, but they have weathered the EMP storm as they close out on the other supports. Now it is just D-Crown to the point, and Shailin is pumping in the damage. They can't step off it for too long, and they need to reinforce quick smart. Shailin getting pressured out, Meteor Strike in here. Kant needs to get a big pulse bomb kill, but he converts onto Randy, and that could be the stabilization for Machi, and indeed the pulse bomb catches Shailin. Much
turning around
for them. It is absolutely turning around, and Machi looked like they will just barely stabilize here.
What a stick as well. Everything just sort of coming together, and Machi right at the end. Shailin couldn't pick up the kills onto nuns that he wanted. Had to use a Meteor Strike. Kant immediately responds, throwing a pulse bomb on the Meteor Strike landing location. Everything on the individual mechanical level for Machi Esports just happens when it needs to happen. But Hong Kong Attitude now staring into the face of a possible draw. 1 minute left to go and no ultimates, and also no time to charge ultimates.
Both teams nearly fully held each other on point A and are now looking to do the exact same to each other on point B. And that would put us to a very fitting tiebreaker golden point, but one fight at a time is how Machi must take it, and it is that last fight for Hong Kong Attitude.
And EMP comes up online very early for none, so this could be it right here. Machi Esports can take their time and choose exactly when they want to approach. Don't take too long, because if Mango Jai gets an EMP, there is a turnaround factor for Hong Kong Attitude.
Nuns is still just looking for the opportunity. Mango Jai is going to have his EMP as well now, so you're completely right about that one. And it could just be a bit of a mind game between these two as Nuns looks for the angle. 20 seconds remaining.
You got to be attacking now because Hong Kong Attitude have got to sit on ults. You got to go
there
before
it
it happens.
Big EMP out, and they look to drill down Randy, who retreats to a health pack, just barely gets demaxed, unfortunately for him, and no pressure in response from Hong Kong Attitude just yet, even off the back of their EMP. They are not converting the kills, even as they pressure D-Crown. They need to close him out. A Ting forced the ult to stay alive. D-Crown may just be able to get his as Kiyomi comes in and tops these members off. Kant finds his counterpart, and that could be the stabilization now for Machi, as a Ting on the cusp of losing his life. He's had to retreat from this fight, and now actually they can't step off the point just as much as Machi can't because of that overtime as Shailin gets taken down. Kiyomi and Kant converting all these kills through for Machi, and they are going to hold out. We're going to a golden point tiebreaker, folks.
Well played by Machi Esports. That was so good right at the end there. Everything they needed to happen exactly happened on that defense. They held out until the overtime. That was part of the game plan. Probably still overcommitted on the defense nonetheless, but they did what they needed to do for Hong Kong Attitude to really struggle to get A. And then into B, they held out long enough, got the EMP rotations they needed, got the exact kills they needed right at the end as well. Mui getting picked out early on a pulse bomb by Kent, that could have been the winning play.
That was really, really intense. And like I said, when you're Machi Esports in that situation, having failed to cap point B, you just have to take it one fight at a time, and that is what they did. Nearly actually got the win secured by holding out on point A, and then were still also able to take us to a tiebreaker on that point B, getting the same hold as Hong Kong Attitude. And like I said, both teams basically had the exact same performance as one another on Volskaya Industries.
And I think the tiebreaker could go either way as well, because Nepal was super close. It was a case of, one team having a bit of a lead, the other team sort of catching up, a lot of swapping back and forth, and both teams had very neck-to-neck results on that Nepal control. So going here, I can't really say who's going to win. I think for Machi, they have an issue of, yes, they get the early lead, but they don't close out the game. And Hong Kong Attitude have an issue of, they always lose the early lead. Mui died a lot at the start of control, and then they do come back eventually and they do close it out.
Now, one thing that does have to be considered a factor in this matchup, Hong Kong Attitude's own words last night after their series against AHQ, was that they are better at the momentum-based games, the map modes rather, and those were the ones they won against
Sorry,
AHQ.
that's Flashwolf's words. That was Jongi that said that. But we had noticed that for Hong Kong Attitude, that they seem to be better on the momentum.
Well, at any rate, those are still the ones they won against AHQ, were Hybrid and Escort both. That's, of course, both of those hybrids in there. They went all the way to a Game 5. The interesting thing here is actually so far they've won Control. They did look very good on Assault as well and did win the hybrid, but it wasn't as convincing as against AHQ. So that's kind of the saving grace here for Machi. It seems that they're able to match the strengths of Hong Kong Attitude and indeed keep them contained. And I said it right at the start of this matchup between these two teams. They are so similar in so many ways, and I think that Assault really kind of speaks to that.
Absolutely, and this is the kind of series I'd hoped for. I thought these guys would go all the way. They absolutely are capable of going either way, and even if it is a 3-0, even if we get a 3-1, whatever map result, I expect all the maps to be rather close. So far, the only map that may you might think isn't close as maybe that the hybrid in the middle. You look at Hollywood, they did seem a lot more Hong Kong Attitude favored, but now we're going to Oasis, something that we haven't seen yet in Season 2.
Yeah, and it's going to be for a golden point. This is going to be very, very interesting.
There's a lot of nods, is it? Yes.
Which one? Which one? Is this one?
That
That one?
these two. I think it's Gardens.
One.
No,
Oh,
no,
not
hit
going to
check.
be... What was it? University? It's going to be University. There we go. It was neither. We've got completely bamboozled there. And this will be interesting if it comes out of the gate. Because it's University, you get the Sombra mirror and a triple DPS mirror as well.
You certainly do. Both teams playing exactly the same thing here. This bottom match will be very important. Who gets health pack? It is Kiyomi.
Kiyomi very quick on it as well, and actually Kant gets hacked out though by Mango Jai. That is the one saving grace. First kill goes over to Kiyomi, but the pressure is there. Nuns actually picks his counterpart, and now suddenly it's Machi all over. Very tenuous for a second there for both teams, but Machi get that first fight win in convincing fashion.
And once again, the trend is that Machi do win these opening fights, and that was off the back of the fact that Kiyomi got the early hack. Mango Jai a little slow to the mark. Whoever gets the early health pack in a Sombra versus Sombra mirror on Oasis University is the team that usually comes out on top.
Actually did get some early fight wins though on Nepal as well. Chonkook Attitude ultimately won, but I will remind you, all of those came down to a final fight 99-99.
And this is a very good move out by Hardcore Attitude, changing up the composition.
That's a
Now, Mango Jai
quick
goes up early.
EMP. Good trade back to kill Kiyomi, but they lose a lot of DPS. Shaolin's got to get a lot of work done. Ating can ult to buy more time and just barely does in time. Shaolin also staying alive, but they need to get work done in among that. Ating going off to pop No Talk is good for them, but an equal trade on Randy, who has bumped off the edge as well, so no remake for him. Closing out a D-Crown now. They're starting to put on the pressure. It's still anyone's fight, and in this whole time, Machi have had the time on the point, and now Kant with the Pulse Bomb can just close it out here.
And Machi still keep it even despite having the early losses there. Kant might just go over. Got to be careful with that. You got to make sure you don't give up the progress.
No Talks there, and they commit the sound barrier as well, so they don't accidentally let the cap go over. But they're struggling to actually get the kill. Spiny get one on Mango Jai, but No Talk, and Nun's going to be going down for it on the side of Machi. Actually, No Talk's still alive. It was just the mech, but it is the rest of Machi who will lose their lives. A lot of time gained for themselves, but Hong Kong Attitude will get the regrab, and they've got to be remembering how Nepal played out now.
Exactly, because Machi were in very similar situations, 56% in a lead. That's a pretty good one. Machi have a lot of buffer time now to work with. The EMP available as well. It's not quite time to swap up the Sombra because you have something to work with. You also still have health pack control. Hong Kong Attitude at least don't have that.
So far, this has been very, very nice, AJ. Again, speak to the similarity of these two teams. The EMP could be all it takes to swing it.
Targeting the supports here is important because they both have support ultimates. If you can get them, this is where it's going to be.
He's looking for them, getting right onto Mango Jai, but needs to respect the flashbang from Mui and does so. So he now has to pull back. The D-Mech Randy, he's forced to use the self-destruct. That does create some space. Oh, doesn't quite. You can't one-clipping him while he's out of the mech. Yeah, EMP comes out. They do secure No Talk's mech. Actually, I think he did actually throw out a self-destruct, but it's Hong Kong Attitude getting the kills up as Mui good flashbang onto Nuns and secures that. Just barely. Mui going off to keep this fight secured. That's a bit of a whiffed Deadeye, but they hold on to the point and are going to overtake Machi in terms of progress.
Mui again, just landing the headshots when he needs to. Gets one into Kiyomi, gets another onto, I can't even remember who kills next. He's just getting everyone on Machi Esports side. A good enough EMP, but unfortunately not good enough to actually get the kills on Hong Kong Attitude. They don't even get one of the support ultimates. They don't get two of the other ultimates on the team either. So now Machi got to be looking at how they can come back in because they were ahead no longer.
No Talk also didn't commit a self-destruct that could have saved a fight. So that is now the one resource they have for this one. That's the saving grace. They need to get a lot done with it. Good pick onto Mui. That's a great open for them. Shaolin going off though, trying to get the damage down as they pick Nuns. Kiyomi needs to commit an EMP, and they do so on top of the sound barrier. It cancels out CQB's own sound barrier, but they aren't quite converting the kills just yet. Mui can rejoin this fight. And now secure on CQB. Machi looking to close out these last few as Hong Kong Attitude push it up to 99%, but Machi will at last get themselves a regrab.
Don't forget, this isn't a best of 3, this is just a best of 1. Whoever takes this is going to win map number 3, which is Volskaya Industry. So Kiyomi waiting for that EMP once more. Make sure the target has to be Mango Jai. There's not a lot of other ultimates to work with on the Hong Kong Attitude side, and time is also running out as we're heading to 99 on Machi's end.
This is likely to be the final fight, and if Hong Kong Attitude win it, then they are secure in the top 4 for the first round robin. If not, Machi keep the series alive, and that's a great opening pick from Mui. Pulse bomb in from Shailin, doesn't quite take out D-Crown. So they have survived that one. Self-destruct out from No Talk to buy them space, but it doesn't get any kills. Randy throwing out his own, also no kills, but they get the grab just about as Mango converts the kills, and Mui takes out Cat as well for good measure, and it could just be Mui going off to secure it as the EMP does come out, but there is no follow-up. D-Crown picks, no talk, no mech, 99 to 99, a fitting way for it to end, but it has ended. It is all over as Hong Kong Attitude just picking up these last trickling members and will secure the golden point to take out the third map of this best of 5 series and secure their spot against their rivals in the top 4.
Hong Kong Attitude pulling out exactly when it matters, and that was probably the closest 3-0 I've ever seen. The fact that Machi Esports held on for so long, forced into a golden cap, did almost the impossible after what a great defense it was of all Sky from Hong Kong Attitude. But this is the play that we got to talk about. Mui just had so much impact.
Yeah, first finding Kiyomi in there, and then he gets, Nuns here as well, just barely. And Kant, who had only just blinked into that spot. Honestly, Mui going off the way he did in those last 2 fights was what secured it when it had actually come down so close between these 2 teams. It has been a long time coming for Hong Kong Attitude, but at last it has arrived.
Absolutely, and that's going to be a 3-0 victory in their favor, and Hong Kong Attitude setting themselves apart from rivals Machi Esports, and what a way to end as well. And this was an incredibly intense match from both ends.
And unfortunately for Machi, this does mean they finish off this first round robin tied for 7th place with Mega Thunder, a team, if I'm not mistaken, that they did lose to earlier as well. So actually in the head...
No, they beat.
They beat Mega Thunder. You may just be right. But at any rate, that actually is a saving grace for them in that case, because that does mean that they have... just barely have that technical lead in that tiebreaker. They are tied for 7th place in standings. And actually, no, it was Hong Kong Attitude that Mega Thunder were able to pick up their extra win against. That is why they had the 2 wins there after picking up one against Liverland earlier on. So, like I said, that's the saving grace now for Machi, tied for that 7th place. And for them now, and this is a real kind of shock based on their Season 1 performance, they're actually going to spend the 2nd round robin trying to avoid relegations alongside Mega Thunder. That's a really rough spot for them to be in. But that is the nature of the tournament in Season 2. Everyone has got better, and you have to work hard to keep up or you are going to drop out.
And you can't even fault Machi because they've gone better just like every other team. The fact that they went so close with Hong Kong Attitude, any of those maps could have been theirs. Take a look at the replays now. Straight into Volskaya. This is going to be midway through the attack from Machi.
And it took them so long to ultimately crack this one. It was very, very intense. They did secure that early 3rd, though, which was quite a boon for them throughout all this. But honestly, this was one of the few maps where we didn't really see Kant absolutely popping off. And on the whole, Hong Kong Attitude's maneuvering around this point was just that little bit cleaner. Excuse me, it is harder to maneuver through that EMP when you lose all your mobility tools, but the one who suffers the most, Kant, was already dead before the EMP went out. So it was the members like No Talk and D-Crown that were getting really hard pressured in that time, and their positioning just kind of fell apart.
And Machi had a lot of those very difficult moments, and they pulled it out through eventually into the overtime in a similar fashion to what Hong Kong Attitude had. So actually both teams attacked and defended in a very similar fashion. Both teams found it very difficult to break past the EMPs, break past the other players. Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be happening on cap number B in the final moments as the overtime does tick up. And it will be, unfortunately, a failed attack coming in from the Machi squad, and that punch, rocket punch directly on the wrist here. Jeremy decides to come in with the Transcendence, save the rest of the team members of what he can get. Gets Mango Jai, but it's ultimately not enough. Shailin gets so much work done here, so he picks up the 2nd support as well. Note that Shailin is not going to die at any point. Picks up Nuns as well. He's the one that really gets a huge string of kills, closing on a D-Crown.
And before that fight as well, we mentioned this when it happened, he got an amazing predict rocket punch on Kant, remembering where the recall was going to bring Kant to, which was what gave them the numerical superiority at the top of the fight. And that last fight was all Shailin. After that, then gets the opening pick, and I mentioned this during the game as well, at no point there did Machi ever have even numbers that were at a disadvantage. That is already a nigh impossible task, and from there it was just closing out for Hong Kong Attitude, kind of playing it by the book, and it was Shailin who opened that book for them.
Absolutely, and it's interesting. The two players you look at for Hong Kong Attitude, it was Shylin at the closing moments of Volsky. Then you look at the closing moments of Oasis, it was Mui in a similar fashion. And both players, when they need to, they step up, they get the huge frags, they get the huge string of kills, and they secure it for their team. And it's just, you got to commend Hong Kong Attitude. The DPS line's been fantastic. We've already talked a lot about the tank line, and then the support line as well has also been pulling weight.
And I feel like for all the similarity between these two teams, that was the one key difference as well. When Machi were losing their supports, they tended to be losing the fights as well. On the side of Hong Kong Attitude, there was a lot more you had to shut down. Machi were doing a good job of shutting it down, but it's so risky, really, to crumble when you lose supports. Now here, final replay. Technically, Assault is going to be on Oasis, which was the tiebreaker between these two teams, Golden Point. And this is Muig absolutely going off. I mean, he's had solid performances throughout the whole night, but we talk about him being a superstar on McCree. This was just showing it and really showing it when it counts.
And it's multiple times as well. We're seeing it now. Like, I think there's at least 3 times Mui has had a huge string of kills on McCree over 2 evenings. First was on Hollywood against AHQ last night. Tonight on Hollywood again against Machi, and then just most recently on Oasis. He just gets these massive runs where he looks incredibly unstoppable.
And to go back to what I said there as well, does it when it counts. And again, that has to be the common difference between these two teams. For all their similarities, it's Hong Kong Attitude executing when it counts. That Golden Point wasn't the only control that went to 99 to 99 tonight. Nepal, the 2 maps that went out, both went to 99 and 99, and both were secured by Hong Kong Attitude. Also, Hollywood ended up being secured very convincingly. It's just that getting it over the line. And even though Volskaya is kind of the exception to that here, in that it technically went to a draw, bringing us to Golden Point, you still have to credit Hong Kong Attitude for how solid their defense was.
Absolutely. Shylin, pickup player of the game on Doomfist, and look, we've talked about everyone on the Hong Kong Attitude side. Nearly every single player deserves player of the game, but Shylin stepping up above and beyond on multiple occasions. He looked great on Hollywood in particular, across both Doomfist and Tracer, actually especially on the Tracer defensively, which really let them hold A. And then of course the Doomfist, just with huge plays like Prediction, Rocket Punch onto Kant, and then getting the first pick onto Restia, that massive string of kills he got on Volskaya, massively deserved.
Yeah, it would almost be hard to call it between him and Mui, but you know, at the end you've got to pick one, and yeah, I think Shylin well deserved. I do also want to give credit where credit is due to the side of Machi. Kant, even compared to Shylin, actually, I would say had a more consistent Tracer tonight. But across the board, Shylin was outperforming and also was, how do I put this? He was sort of playing with the team in a different kind of way. Kant was often rescuing fights or turning it back around, where Shylin was a component.
Now to the post-match interview with both Mango Jai and Shylin.
Hello，我是小林。
好，那我先问一下芒果仔好了。其实呢，在比赛开始之前，就蛮多人都在说
So at the
AK
start,
最近状态非常好。
So everyone's been saying Hong Kong Attitude has been good. How do you think?
其实是我们团内其实很差啦。
We've actually been
我们团内就跟一
unsuccessful
些
in
很强的队
scrims.
伍，然后给他们就一直打爆我们，然后我们就
We've been losing a lot of
可能
scrims.
从失败里面，然后找到那个
But
我们缺的
through losing a lot, we found where we can
是，
improve.
所以是一直被虐，所以
对对对
打比赛会感觉稍微轻松一点点，是不是？
对。
So it feels
好，
it
今天
feels
讲他
less.
依旧是非常凶，因为我们
pressured
都知道
on
你
the
的
match
服
stage.
风格都是比较侵略式的，这是你刻意要达到吗？你没有想说要转换一下风格之
So
类
how do
的
you feel about the somber play?
就我看到谁漏单，我就想试试看可不可以把他单抓。
So I feel like I
然后
tend to look
看他们
for
就是
solo
要等
kills
那
on
个
somber a
比我
lot.
出来的
Whoever's
非常
low,
凶
I
残的
target.
辅助心态哦，这也是刚刚也替你们捏了一把冷汗，就是在工业区的部分，你们 B 点一直打不进去，当时是有遇到什么样的状
So
况
what was the issue on the
其实
Volskaya
是
for not
对面
being
他有
able to
个大
finish
绝
that?
是真的太快了，就是
I feel like
他会
Nuns
走
had
到我们
really
的
quick EMPs,
所以我们就可能想骗他
much
然后
quicker
再
EMPs than we
再打
expected,
但是
and we
都
never got the
骗
timings
不到
correct.
是不是？好，那我们赛评这部分有没有什么问题可以问一下小林？
对，然后这边想要问小林的部分是，我们都看到今天小林的拳王发
So
挥
the Doomfist today was really good.
主要平常在团练或者是整个队伍有主要玩拳王的玩家吗？像是你还是
So
木鱼的部
do you
分？
play more Doomfist or
是要
Mui?
看情况，有
It depends on the
要拿
situation.
是我们。
哦，所以
more often it's me.
就变成是闪光 跟麦卡利会影响到你们谁拿拳王这件
So
决
it
定。
depends on Tracer
让
McCree.
我拿球。
哦，了解
然。后
Yeah,
闪
it
光
turns
球
into me.
的话就是我闪光他球。
哦，
If
了
it's
解
Tracer doing
那
fist,
这
then it's me
边
playing
想要问
Tracer.
说，就是拳王跟闪光这两只角色，小林都是有在比赛上
So you play
常常拿出来的。
Tracer and
想
Doomfist
问
together?
说这两只角色其实玩法上差异性是有比较大的。
So it feels like there's a big
不知道
difference in
你是怎么
gameplay
适应
though.
这两只角色
But how do you
来
sort of
练习的
balance that?
拳王不用绕背，然后可是闪光要绕背。
So I do a lot of flanking on Tracer, but I don't flank much on
因为
Doomfist.
说闪光需要闪现以及跟枪，拳王是靠着技能型的角色而有差别吗？
差不多。
哦，了解，好，谢谢。
好的，无论如何还是恭喜你们获得今天这场比赛的胜利啦。那我们这边要手速一下，等一下就有精彩比赛马上回来哦。
And Shailin in the post-match interview after picking up a swift, well not really swift, but a very competitive
Yeah.
0.
Yeah, but once again, they were the ones consistently getting it over the line, and with that, they secured themselves a guaranteed spot in the top 4. They will be tied for 3rd by the end of the night with either Blank or AHQ, and that one will be decided at the end of the night, and the head-to-head will technically put them above whichever it is of those two teams they are tied with in standings. Very well deserved by Hong Kong Attitude.
We are now halfway through the evening, rounding up the finishing touches on round robin number 1, and still yet to come the title bout of the evening. Ardian in first place, going up against Flash Wolves, also tied in first place. One team will come out ahead, and that all happens after this break.